Today we have CA Ravinath with us, who is a practicing chartered accountant in Kerala, Cochin, who is an expert in income tax related areas, to discuss about one of the most important amendment which has come in income tax over the last 1 year, and which is going to get effect, or which is going to affect all of us, all the chartered accountants or chartered accountant students in the coming year. So today we are going to discuss about the new amendment in section 43B of the Income Tax Act, 43BH, and I welcome CA Ravinath to this discussion. Hi Ravi.
Thank you, Joel.
So over the last few months, the section 43BH has been a hot topic in newspapers and even in the community of business
Yes,
community,
yes,
right?
yes.
So can you just tell what is it all about? What is all this section 43BH and what is the new amendment which has come in this?
Okay. So, firstly, a businessman pays tax on his profits, which means income minus expenses is the profit, and you pay tax on the profit which you earn.
Yes.
There are certain items in income tax for which you get a deduction only when you actually make the payment to the concerned person.
Okay. So
Generally,
that expense.
yes,
You are talking about that
yes,
expense
yes.
part.
Expense
Okay.
part, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So many of them are like statutory duties,
Yeah.
PF contributions,
Yeah.
any interest payable to a bank or a financial institution, etc.
Yeah.
In 2023 budget, a new category was added to this
Okay.
list, that
Okay.
is payment to a micro or small enterprise,
Okay.
which has been added as a new item in
Okay.
clause 43BH.
Okay. Okay.
So that is where all this discussion is happening. Trade associations are taking up representations with the government,
Okay.
and it is discussed as a hot topic, like you said.
Okay, okay. So basically section 43B is a section where the income tax restrict certain deductions.
Yes.
Even though we incur the expenditure,
Yes.
we will get a deduction only when it is actually paid.
Yes. Yes.
So as you said, this payment on statutory dues, interest and all those things.
Yes.
And right now a new item has been added to
Yes.
this section 43B as 43BH.
Yes.
And that is creating a lot of
Yes.
discussions now.
So I would just like to add one more point,
Yeah.
that generally all clauses of 43B allow a deduction if the payment is made before due date of filing ITR.
Okay.
That is, in case of a non-tax audit person, it has
Okay.
to be paid before 31st July.
Okay.
For a tax audit person, it has to be paid before 31st October.
Okay. Okay.
But this new clause which has been introduced
Okay.
for payment to a micro or small enterprise
Okay. Okay.
does not permit this deduction if the payment is made before due date of filing ITR.
Oh,
That is
okay.
where there is a big concern for the industry associations.
Okay. So for all other things, we have time till the filing of the return.
Yes, the due date. Yes.
Yeah. So even though the expense, the financial year ends on 31st March
Yes.
and the expense is incurred within 31st March,
Yes.
you get time up to filing the return.
Yes.
But in this particular case, relating to MSME,
Yes.
you don't get that time.
You don't get that time.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So can you just explain what is that 43BH?
So in India, we have this MSMED Act, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act.
Okay.
In that, we have characterized different enterprises based on their turnover or investment in plant and machinery as micro, small and medium enterprises.
Okay.
Now, the government wants that the payments to micro and small enterprises, which are a big part of India's informal sector,
Okay.
and employ a large number of people.
Okay.
The government is concerned that the cash flow to these micro and small enterprises is not happening promptly.
Okay.
And the intention of the government is that the enterprises which are dealing with micro and small enterprises should promptly pay their dues.
Okay.
So for this, the government has introduced 43BH.
Okay.
In this section, they are saying that you will not get a deduction for a payment to a micro or small enterprise unless it is paid within the time allowed in the Micro Small Enterprises Development Act.
Okay.
So if there is a payment which is outstanding to a micro or small enterprise as on 31st March, you will get a deduction for that payment in that year only if it is paid within the due date given in the act.
Okay.
If it is not outstanding as on 31st March, you don't have to worry.
Okay.
But if it is outstanding, it has to be paid within due date given in Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act.
Okay. So the takeaway one is this section is all about micro, small, medium enterprises.
Yes.
Which is again a hot topic for the last few years,
Yes,
especially after COVID. No,
Yes.
Government is giving lot of thrust for this
Yes,
development
yes.
and development of these MSMEs.
Absolutely, yes,
Okay, so to safeguard their interest,
Yes.
they have got the section,
Yes.
and which says that you can claim an expenditure as a deduction in your income tax
Yes.
with respect to the expenses you have incurred to an MSME
Yes.
only if you have actually paid
Yes.
within the due date.
Yes.
Right?
So
Okay.
there are two cases. One,
Yeah.
if it is outstanding as on 31st March,
Okay.
it has to be paid within the due date.
Okay.
If it is not outstanding, if you have already paid the expense during the year,
Okay.
then you don't have to worry. This
Okay.
particular section is not applicable.
Okay. Okay. So if it is a payment which has become due, or let's suppose an entity purchased from an MSME
Yes.
in the month of June,
Yes.
even after they make the payment
Yes.
in March of next year,
Yes.
as long as it is within that financial year, they are fine.
They are
Section 43BH is not attractive.
It's not attractive.
Okay, only with respect to the
Payments
amounts
which are-
outstanding as on the
Yes,
year end,
yes.
we have to be concerned.
We have to be concerned.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, okay.
So for such payments also, you get a deduction if the payment is made within due date given in MSME Act.
Okay.
So I will talk about the due dates now.
Okay.
The due dates is calculated in this way. For supply of goods, if there is an agreement between parties, it can be the period of agreement or 45 days, whichever is lower.
Okay.
So let's say I am a supplier A and you are my customer B,
Okay.
and we
You are
have
an
an
MSME.
agreement.
You are an MSME.
Yes,
Okay.
I am an MSME and I supply goods to you.
Okay.
So if we have an agreement saying that you will pay me 30 days within 30 days of delivery of goods, we will take 30 days as the due date.
Oh, okay.
But if we have an agreement saying you will pay me 90 days after delivery, then we will only take 45 days as the due date.
Okay. For the purpose of this 43BH.
For the purpose of 43BH.
So we can have a due date for 90 days.
Yes,
That is
commercial
permitted.
terms, yes.
But I will get a deduction only if I make the payment within 45 days.
Yes.
If the due date is beyond 45 days.
If the due date is beyond 45
And if the due date is less than 45 days.
it has to be paid within the lesser time.
Okay. So what if there is no such an agreement?
Yes, that is also possible because
Okay.
in India there is a lot of transaction between parties. They trust people. So there is generally no practice of people entering into agreements unless you're dealing with a big corporate on the other side.
Okay.
But this is a section which impacts every taxpayer.
Okay.
And in majority of cases we will not find an agreement.
Okay.
If there is no agreement, the act says the due date starts within 15 days of the delivery of goods.
Oh, okay. So in a case where there is no agreement, the payment have to be made within 15 days.
15 days, yes.
Else there is a disallowance.
Else there is a disallowance.
If it is outstanding as on the
31st March.
31st March.
Yes.
Now, just to add what you said, in India, it's very difficult for us to find any formal agreement, right?
Yes,
Written
yes,
agreement, it happens only between the the multinationals
Yes,
or big
yes,
corporate players. But more or less, all these things are verbal.
Yes.
I purchased from you, so we have a verbal agreement. So, how do you see that? Is verbal agreement permitted here, or is it enough for the purpose of this 43BH?
No, unfortunately, it has to be an agreement in writing.
Okay. Okay. So the takeaway will be whenever you deal with an MSME,
Yes.
or whenever you sell, you are an MSME and you sell to other customers, there has to be an agreement in writing.
Yes.
Then only all these things will be like the terms and all will
it
be.
need not even be an agreement executed on a stamp paper.
Yeah.
It can just be an email confirmation.
Oh, okay, okay. But it has to be in writing.
In writing, and to have maximum impact, the other party which is accepting the terms should write back saying this is acceptable.
So the buyer have to
Yes,
agree
yes,
to that.
yes,
There should be
yes.
an evidence.
Yes, yes,
Okay. So then only it will be valid in income tax.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So basically this section is impacting the buyers.
yes.
So the buyer has to ensure that
Prompt
there is an
payment
agreement.
yes.
A written agreement either in paper or through email and both the parties agree to this.
Yes.
Okay. So
And
just
in case of services,
yeah.
the due date starts from the date on which services are rendered.
Okay. And is the dates different for services or same as goods
Same,
itself?
same. If there is no agreement, 15 days. If there is an agreement, period of agreement or 45 days, whichever is less.
Okay, okay, okay. So the takeaway is one, this section does not bar an MSME and other entity to have a agreement beyond 45
No,
days.
it doesn't.
There is no bar.
There is no bar.
One. Second thing, if the amount, the due date is above 45 days, then for the purpose of 43BH, you have to consider only 45 days.
45 days, yes.
Okay. And there was some confusion whether this provision requires us to have minimum 45 days due date. No.
No.
If you have a due date less
due
than 45 days, then that have to be considered.
Yes.
And if there is no agreement, then 15 days will be the due date.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So that is going to impact most of the trade, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And in a lot of industries, the credit period which is given is generally higher than 45 days. So that will create a lot of practical issues for the people in that industry. I have heard textile industry,
Yeah.
maybe,
Pharmaceutical
yes,
industries.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
are all going to be impacted.
Yeah, yeah. Now we are talking about a case where the seller is a MSME.
Yes.
Is there any relaxation to this section if the buyer is an MSME?
Unfortunately not.
No. Okay.
The act applies irrespective of whether you are an MSME or not an MSME.
Okay. So even if the buyer is an MSME, still he will have to comply with all these provisions.
He will have to make the payments promptly to get a deduction.
Okay. Then only you will be eligible for a deduction. Okay.
There is also one more small point which I would like to add here, that if there is a dispute regarding the goods or services
Okay.
and the payment is delayed because of the dispute,
Okay.
then the provision says that there will be a holiday for payment starting from the date on which the dispute is intimated to the other party.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it will end on the date on which the dispute is withdrawn.
Okay.
But again, this has to be in writing.
It has to be in writing.
Yes.
Okay. So if just to clarify, if the due date is 30 days
Yes.
and if a dispute arises at the 10th day
Yes.
and the dispute goes on for let's say 2 months,
Yes.
so once dispute is has arisen and the other party also is informed about the dispute,
Yes.
then this due date period of 30 days stops there. It gets suspended there.
Yes. Yes.
And only if the only after the dispute is resolved, it gets counted
It
again.
has to be withdrawn by the party which is
Oh, okay.
raising the dispute.
Okay, okay.
Also, the time limit for raising a dispute is only 15 days.
Okay.
So, if you receive the goods or receive the service, beyond 15 days, if you raise any dispute, that is not counted.
Even if it is within my credit period.
Even if it is within your credit period, other party is accepted, that doesn't matter. You have to raise a dispute in writing within 15 days of receipt of goods or services.
Okay.
So that is again a very important takeaway for business. In case the goods are not acceptable, the service is not as per your standards, you have to inform the other party in writing within 15 days of receipt of goods or services.
And in writing means it can be through email.
Yes.
It can be either through post or email.
Yes.
There has to be a
Written communication.
And you were mentioning that is that the dispute have to be accepted by the other party?
That is not a necessary condition.
Necessary condition, because if it becomes accepted, then it is no longer a dispute, right? Okay, okay. So I have to inform the other party, my supplier, that I have a dispute.
Yes.
And from that day, and it has to be informed within 15 days.
Within 15 days.
Then that due date stops there.
Yes.
And only after the dispute is resolved, it will again
It will
count.
restart. Yes.
Okay, it will restart.
It will end on the date on which dispute is raised if it is done within 15 days.
Yeah.
And it will start back
Yeah.
from the date on which dispute is
Okay.
withdrawn.
So over the period of dispute, it gets suspended.
It
That's
gets
it.
suspended. Yes.
Okay. So if the due date is 30 days, just to clarify, 30 days, and I have raised a dispute on 10th day,
Yes.
once the dispute is over, I will get only the remaining 20
Remaining
days.
20 days. Yes.
I will not get the entire
Yes.
30 days
No,
thereafter.
you will not get.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay, so that is another, another thing which everybody have to be very careful.
Aware of. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, now many people may not raise the dispute. Disputes
Yes.
could be there, and it could be raised either maybe after 15 days or it may not be in writing. Now everything have to be very careful. We have to
Yes.
raise the dispute
Yes.
and within 15 days, and there have to be a documentary evidence also for that.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.